settings and make sure to select the macros tab. It is the fourth tab from left to right. And right in there, we have different options. You can either assign a macro before running an entire simulation, which would only activate our macro only once, or you can just run before each iteration's recalc. That is the option we'll be selecting. Prior to running a new iteration, I have to recall that macro, which, by the way, was called production. And that is the last step I gotta take. I need to define what is the name that we have for the macro that will be run. Additionally, we can also define if the macro needs to be run after each iteration's recalc or after each simulation. But again, this is not the case. So the best way to proceed is run the macro, store the results, and run it again in the following iteration. That's exactly what we're just about to do. So let's just run the simulation. We are ready now. So the only thing I need to click before I do, click on save. Remember, save before doing anything, and then click on simulate. For example, I can select cell K2, click on simulate, and then the computer will start doing its thing. You can see now that the computer is creating the histogram of frequencies for that particular simulation process. If the computer goes in blank or dark screen, don't be scared. It's totally normal. That depends entirely on your, I would say, video adapter. Sometimes the use of memory is quite intensive. So if that happens, don't be afraid. I mean, these type of things happen and they don't depend on you guys. It depends on many factors. Right now, for example, I'm using a Macintosh to run the software. I'm using I would say a software to run Windows at the same time of my Mac OS. So memory management generally, is different on each machine, right? And basically, we're almost done. Here we were asked to identify how much time in advance we should begin production, considering that we are willing to take a 5% risk of not finishing on time. If you take a look at the graph that I'm getting in here, this number should be 121 days. And the reason is because if you take a look at 121, there is only 5% of times where actually I require more time than that. So if I wanted to copy the graph, I can right click in the usual way, select copy graph and grid, click on close, and just paste the graph wherever I want, right? And then of course I need to identify the startup time. And that's the last step to be practically ready for my solution, right? Everything has been done in order to let Outreach help us, in this process. But I need now to identify the right date. So this is what I'm gonna do. As 121 is the number I need, I'm gonna change that somehow in cell B23. But remember, B23 is calculating how many days are in between two dates, your initial date, which was January 1st, and your target delivery date. So what tool shall we use? Well, GoalSeek, and that's just GoalSeek. So in order to get that done, I'm gonna save. First, I'm gonna save. And after saving, I'm gonna go into data and select the option what if analysis. That's regular standard Excel functionality. Go into GoalSeek and establish the goal that I want to accomplish. My target cell, it's gonna be cell B23, which is the total number of working days. I want that to be equal to 121, which is the result that I just got from @risk. By changing which cell, the initial date to begin production. And that cell comes from cell B22. It's as simple as that. So what happens is at the end of